हेलो एवरीवन, दिस इज़ शालिनी। वेलकम टू द लीगल लेंस। आज की इस सीरीज़ से हम स्टार्ट करेंगे इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन से रिलेटेड क्वेश्चंस को, जिसमें टोटल 1500 प्लस क्वेश्चन होंगे, जो हम पार्ट्स में डिवाइड करके 100 क्वेश्चन की सीरीज़ में करेंगे, ताकि हमारे ऊपर ज़्यादा बर्डन ना हो। तो हम स्टार्ट करते हैं पहले क्वेश्चन से। पहला क्वेश्चन है, प्रीएम्बल एंड इवोल्यूशन ऑफ इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, who is the person who fondly known as the chief architect of the Indian Constitution? तो कौन थे? B.R. अम्बेडकर। नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन है, फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट इन द वर्ल्ड टू कॉन्स्टिट्यूट अ कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली टू फ्रेम अ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन वॉज मेड बाय अमेरिका। The first attempt by Indian to write a constitution to India was done by the committee headed by Motilal Nehru, which is known as Nehru Report. The idea of the Constitution of India was flashed for the first time by M.N. Roy के द्वारा। नेक्स्ट है, the plan of the sitting up of a constituent assembly to draw up the future of the constitution for India was given by the cabinet mission plan. The members of the constituent assembly were elected by provincial assemblies. Which of the following words was added into the preamble of the Constitution by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976? Socialist word. From which constitution was a concept of 5-year plan borrowed into our constitution, USSR? The procedure of the amendment of the constitution is borrowed from the constitution of South Africa. Next question है, which country is the best example for the federal and unitary government? America and Britain. Next question है, which of the following is not a democratic institutions of the Rig Vedic era? Gram. During medieval India, which kings first established local self-government? Cholas. The East India Company was established in the year of 1600. Which charter empowered the British government of governors of the presidencies to make bylaws, rules, regulations in conformity with the British laws? Charter of 1726. Next question है, who started dual government in Bengal? Robert Clive के द्वारा। Who is the first Governor General of Bengal? Warren Hastings. Which is the first written document in the constitutional history of India? The Regulating Act 1773. The Regulating Act 1773. Which act created for the first time in India Government of India? Charter Act of 1833. Which act created for the first time the Supreme Court? The Regulating Act 1773. First Law Commission was appointed in India for codification of laws under the chairmanship of Lord Macaulay. Next question है, which act made the beginning of parliamentary system in India? Charter Act of 1853. Under which of the following act the Crown of England took the affairs of the Government of India into its own hand? Government of India Act 1858. The Governor General of India was also the representative of British Crown to princely state in India and hence was known as the Viceroy of India. Next question है, which act for the first time gave an opportunity for Indians to enter into the sphere of the legislation? Indian Council Act 1861. Which act made the beginning of electoral system in India? Government of India Act 1858. Which of the following act made the Indian legislature bicameral for the first time? Government of India Act 1919. Next question है, the famous Dandi March led by Gandhi ji was the against salt tax. Which proposal was referred as post-dated check? The Cripps proposal. Next question है, Indian National Congress started Quit India movement after the failure of Cripps mission. Gandhi ji gave a call to all Indians, do or die, which was popularly known as Quit India movement. Next question है, Which plan rejected the demand for the independent Pakistan cabinet mission plan? Partition of British India into two independent nations, India and Pakistan, was done according to Mountbatten plan. Next question है, the federal features of the Indian government was introduced by the Government of India Act 1935. Which feature was borrowed by the Indian Constitution from the British Constitution? Lawmaking procedure, parliamentary system of government, and rule of law. Next question है, the Constitution supports rule of law. In Britain, Parliament is supreme. Accordingly, which among the following is the supreme in India? Constitution. The Government of India Act 1935 provided for establishment of federal court, diarchy at center, provincial autonomy. Next question है, the Act of 1935 abolished diarchy in the province. Next है, the Constitution of India was enacted by the Constituent Assembly set up under the Cabinet Mission Plan 1946. Next question, the Constituent Assembly of India was created as per the proposal of Cabinet Mission. In which year did the Cripps Mission come to India? 1942. Next question है, the Constituent Assembly set up under the Cabinet Mission Plan had a strength of 389. Next question है, the strength of Constituent Assembly after the withdrawal of the Muslim League was reduced to 299. Next question है, how many committees were set up by the Constituent Assembly for framing the Constitution? Total 13. Who of the following acted as the constitutional advisor to the Constituent Assembly? B.N. Rao. Demand for the constitution framed by the Constituent Assembly was made by Gandhi ji. Next question है, the idea of the Constituent Assembly to frame a constitution for India was first mooted by Swaraj Party in 1928. Who started with presentation of the objective resolution on 20th January 1947? Jawaharlal Nehru. When was the objective resolution moved and adopted? मूव हुआ था 13 दिसंबर 1946 को और अडॉप्ट किया गया था 22 जनवरी 1942 में. The members of the Constituent Assembly were elected by provincial assemblies. Next है, the Constituent Assembly of India held its first meeting on 9th December 1946 को. Which one of the following acted as the provisional president of the Constituent Assembly? Sachidanand Sinha. The Constituent Assembly elected on 11th December 1946 as its permanent chairman Rajendra Prasad. Who elected the chairman of the drafting committee of the Constituent Assembly? B.R. Ambedkar. Next question है, the chairman of the drafting committee to prepare a draft of the Constitution of India was B.R. Ambedkar. The name of the B.R. Ambedkar is associated with which of the following chairman? ये drafting committee के chairman थे. Who among the following was the member of the drafting committee? B.R. Ambedkar, गोपालाचारी अयंगर और अल्लादी कृष्ण स्वामी. Total 7 member थे. Many provisions in our constitution have been borrowed from Government of India Act 1919 से. The Government of India Act 1990 introduced a system of diarchy in the provinces. Diarchy means a system of double government. When was the Constituent Assembly established to form the Constitution? 6th December 1946. The Constitution of India was adopted on 26th November 1949. Next question है, the Constitution of India came into force on 26th of January 1950. The Constitution of India contains total 444 sections, 44 24 parts and 12 schedules. Next question है, how much time did the Constituent Assembly take to prepare the Constitution of India? 2 year, 11 month, 18 days. Who had given the idea of the Constitution for India of all? M.N. Roy. The Constitution of India is written and bulky document. The Constitution framed by the committee consisting of the people representative is called as written constitution. Next question है, constitution which provide for a series of semi-autonomous states joined together as a nation is federal constitution. Centralization of power is an important feature in federal constitution. The constitution which can be amended by simple act of the legislature is known as flexible constitution. Next question है, which one of the following provision of the constitution came into force soon after its adoption on 26th November 1949? Provisional Parliament, provisions relating to citizens and elections. Next है, India has been described under Article 1 of the Constitution as a union of states. Next question है, the Constitution of India is partly rigid and partly flexible. The Constitution of India describes India as a union of states. The Indian Constitution is recognized as federal in form and unitary in spirit. Next question है, the feature common of both Indian and American Federation is Supreme Court to interpret Constitution. The Indian Constitution came into force on 26th of January 1950. Hence, this day is celebrated as Republic Day. January 26th was selected as the date for inauguration of the Indian Constitution because Congress had observed it as the Independence Day in 1930. 26th November 1949 is a significant day in our constitutional history because the Constitution was adopted on this day. Next question है, which one of the following exercised the most profound influence on the Indian Constitution? The Government of India Act 1935. Next question है, the parliamentary system of government in India is based on the pattern of Great Britain. To whom does the people of India give the Constitution to themselves? Next है, the beginning word we in the preamble refers to citizen of India. The important test to identify the basic features of the Indian Constitution is preamble. Next question है, the preamble to the Constitution contain fraternity, democratic and sovereignty. Next है, India is a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. In the Indian Constitution, this expression occurs in preamble. The preamble to the Constitution declares India as sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic and republic. The preamble of the Indian Constitution has been amended so far once. The preamble was amended by the 42nd Amendment 1976. Fraternity means spirit of brotherhood. Next question है, the word socialist, secular were added by 42nd Amendment. Liberty in our preamble does not preclude freedom of action. Next है, who among the following is an aid to the statutory interpretation preamble? Which of the key to open the minds of the maker of the Constitution is preamble? If the head of the state is an elected functionary for a fixed term, it is known as Republic State. The preamble to the Indian Constitution is borrowed from the Objective Resolution. Next question है, Objective Resolution was silent as to the concept of democratic which was inserted into the preamble by the Constituent Assembly. Universal adult franchise shows that India is a democratic country. Who proposed preamble before the drafting committee of the Constitution? Jawaharlal Nehru. Next question है, the preamble of our Constitution reads, We, the people of India, in our Constituent Assembly, adopt, enact, and give to ourselves. Next है India is called a republic because the head of the state in India, that is president, is an elected head for a fixed period. Next question है sovereignty in democracy rests with the people. The preamble secures justice, liberty, equality, fraternity to all citizens. The preamble of the Constitution indicates the source of the Indian Constitution. It is not the objective enshrined in the preamble, secure shelter and proper livelihood to all. ये नहीं provide है. The idea of social, economic and political justice has been taken from French Revolution. French Revolution. The concept of equality and fraternity has been taken from Russian Revolution. Which of the following is described as the soul of the Constitution preamble? Which one of the following is not treated as a part of the Constitution fundamental duties? Next question है Democracy of India rests on the fact that people have the right to choose and change the government. Next है the word democracy is derived from the Greek word demos and kratos. Next है India adopted for a federal form of government because of linguistic and regional diversity. What is the chief ultimate source of political power in India? People. A flexible constitution can be amended easily. The judiciary acts as the guardian of the constitution in a federal government. Next question है India is secular state because it is described so in the preamble of the constitution. Our constitution has laid emphasis on securing social, economic and political justice to all the citizens of the country. These objectives are aimed at the securing a welfare state. Next question है Modern states are generally considered as welfare states. A state which does not promote or interfere in the affairs of the religion is referred to as secular. The constitution is a dynamic law. Next है The Constitution of India provides single citizenship. The Constitution provides powers, responsibilities, limitations. The fundamental organs of the state are established by Constitution. Detailed provisions regarding acquisition and termination of Indian citizenship are contained in Act passed by the Parliament in 1955. Which of the following is not a condition for becoming an Indian citizen? Citizenship by acquiring property. A person can lose citizenship through deprivation, termination, and renunciation. The aim and objective of the Constitution have been enshrined in the preamble. The office of the Governor General of India was the first time created under Regulating Act 1773. According to the Act of 1858, the territory was divided into provinces. When did the British Crown assume sovereignty over India from East India Company? 1858. Morley Minto reforms were implemented by the Indian Council Act 1909. Which of the following is also known as the Act of 1919 Montagu-Chelmsford Reform Act? Next है which under which of the following act was provincial autonomy introduced in India? Government of India Act 1935. Who made the Constitution of India? The Constituent Assembly. A Constituent Assembly is convened to the frame the constitution of the country. The Constituent Assembly was set up to under the Cabinet Mission Plan of 1946. Next है which party was not associated with the Constituent Assembly of India? The Communist Party. Next question है the Republic of India established by the Constitution is sovereign, socialist and secular. Next question है the mind and ideals of the framers of the Constitution are reflected in the preamble. In our Constitution, what justice is not given to the citizenship? Technical. The present 5-year plan 2002 to 2007 is 11th, amend means remove the difficulties. Enact means pass a law. Who advocated Gram Swaraj for the growth of the villages? Gandhi ji. Purna Swaraj was declared as a goal of the Congress on December 1929 in the Lahore session. Next question है, our constitution prohibits untouchability under Article 17. The constitution declared India as republic on 26th of January 1950 को. Who has given the following statement? Democracy means a government of the people, by the people and for the people. Abraham Lincoln ने. Which one of the following feature was borrowed from by the framers of the constitution from the US Constitution? That is removal of judges of the Supreme Court, judicial review and fundamental rights. ये सब US Constitution से लिए गए हैं. Next question है, the ideals of liberty, equality and fraternity enshrined in the preamble the Constitution were adopted under inspiration from the French Revolution. Next है, dash is the chief force of political power in India to the people. The Constitution describes the Indian Union as India, that is Bharat. The Constitution of India describes India as Union of States. The two persons who played a vital role in the integration of the princely states were Sardar Patel and V.P. Menon. The states were reorganized on linguistic basis in 1956. Which state enjoys the distinction of being the first linguistic state of India? Andhra Pradesh. The Indian federal system is modeled on the federal system of Canada. India is known as the parliamentary democracy because executive is responsible to the parliament. The Indian state is regarded as federal because the Indian constitution provides for sharing of powers between center and states. In which case did Supreme Court hold that the preamble was the part of the Indian constitution? Keshwananda Bharti case. Next question है, in which case did Supreme Court hold that the preamble was not a part of the constitution? Berubari case. Next है, ninth schedule was added to the constitution by the first amendment. Which schedule details the boundaries of the states and the union territories? First schedule. The details of salaries, allowances, etc. of president, vice president, speaker, judges of Supreme Court, etc. are provided in Schedule 2. Which schedule gives details regarding the subjects included in the three list, central, state and concurrent list? जिस 7th में है. Next है, in the Indian Constitution there were three lists, that is union list, state list and concurrent list. Which of the following statement is correct? Rule of law is a basic feature of the Constitution which cannot be amended under Article 368 of the Constitution. Next question है, as per Article 362 of the Indian Constitution, disputes relating to waters shall be solved by Parliament. Which one of the following declares India as secular state? Preamble of the Constitution. By which of the following a new state is formed? Constitutional amendment. The final interpreter of the Indian Constitution is Supreme Court. Every amendment of Indian Constitution has to be approved by the Parliament. Which one of the following state has a separate constitution? Jammu and Kashmir, जो कि जम्मू एंड कश्मीर रीऑर्गेनाइजेशन एक्ट के बाद इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन यहाँ पे अप्लाई होता है. नेक्स्ट है, अपार्ट फ्रॉम द जम्मू एंड कश्मीर विच अदर स्टेट हैज़ बीन प्रोवाइडेड द स्पेशल प्रोटेक्शन इन सर्टेन मैटर्स? नागालैंड. तो नागालैंड को तो अभी भी है पर जम्मू एंड कश्मीर को अब नहीं है. नेक्स्ट है, आर्टिकल 356 ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया डील्स विथ प्रोक्लेमेशन ऑफ प्रेसिडेंट्स रूल इन अ स्टेट. नेक्स्ट है, द स्टेट ऑफ जम्मू एंड कश्मीर वॉज अकॉर्डेड स्पेशल स्टेटस अंडर आर्टिकल 370. द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ जम्मू एंड कश्मीर वॉज फ्रेम्ड बाई अ स्पेशल कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली सेटअप बाई द स्टेट. नेक्स्ट है, The power of the parliament to amend the constitution includes power to amend by way of addition, variation or repeal. Next है, which article empowers the parliament to amend the Indian constitution? Article 368. Ninth schedule to the constitution is added by way of constitutional amendment फर्स्ट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट के थ्रू नाइन्थ शेड्यूल को ऐड किया गया था. नेक्स्ट है, व्हाट इज कंटेन इन द 10th शेड्यूल ऑफ द इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन? प्रोविजंस रिगार्डिंग डिस्क्वालिफिकेशन ऑन ग्राउंड्स ऑफ डिफेक्शन. नेक्स्ट है, महात्मा गांधी वॉज फर्स्ट रेफर्ड टू एज द फादर ऑफ द नेशन बाय सुभाष चंद्र बोस. नेक्स्ट है, जय हिंद द नेशनलिस्ट स्लोगन of India was coined by Subhash Chandra Bose. Who framed the Constitution of India? Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Which famous leader raised the slogan, "Tell the slave he is a slave and he will revolt"? Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Who said, "Those who attack Congress and spare Nehru are fools. They do not knows the ABCs of the politics"? Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. What is the name given to the Ambedkar's house built for himself, his family and books at Dadar in Bombay? Rajgrih. Indian Constitution is wholly written. The Indian Constitution is lengthy and written Constitution. Next है, consider the following statement. On eve of the launch of Quit India movement, Mahatma Gandhi. Next question है, the home spoon movement and the salt march promoted by Mahatma Gandhi in India are example of his policy of non-violent protest. Which year is considered to be the memorable landmark in the history of India's struggle for freedom? 1921. The first war of Indian independence took place in the year, or in which year did the Sepoy Mutiny, India's first freedom struggle, takes place? 1857. Next question है, Mahatma Gandhi was the editor of Young India. Who was not the member of the Constituent Assembly? Mahatma Gandhi. Who among the following was not a member of Royal Commission on the Public Services in India 1912 में? बाल गंगाधर तिलक. Which national leader of India preached through his paper Kesari his new ideals of self-help and national revival among the masses? Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Which newspaper was started by Lokmanya Tilak to serve as the mouthpiece for the Indian in the freedom struggle? Kesari. The cabinet mission to India was headed by Lord Pethick Lawrence. Next है, in which one of the following provinces was a Congress ministry not formed under Act of 1935? Punjab. Next है, under whose presidency was the Lahore session of Indian National Congress held in year 1929, wherein a resolution was adopted to gain complete independence from the British? Jawaharlal Nehru. Next है, unity between the Congress and the Muslim League, Lucknow Pact, and between the moderates and extremists took place in 1916. Next है, at which Congress session was the working committee authorized to launch a program of civil disobedience? Lahore session. Next है, the historic 1929 Lahore session of Indian National Congress was presided over by Jawaharlal Nehru. Who among the following drafted the resolution on fundamental rights for the Karachi session of a Congress in 1931? Jawaharlal Nehru. So this is all for today. मिलते हैं नेक्स्ट वीडियो में, जहाँ पे हम आगे के क्वेश्चंस को कंटिन्यू करेंगे. तब तक के लिए कीप लर्निंग, कीप शाइनिंग, ऑल द बेस्ट. थैंक यू.